Okay,
Yes,
says we're live.
it works.
Welcome.
Hello, Bill. Hello, everyone.
Yes. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us today this is our fourth show for this book, The Art of Peace and Happiness, Volume 1. And thank you, the live call-in feature, you guys that are on the call-in feature. I can see that you can hear me. It looks to me like you can hear me just fine. I'm looking at the board. And I want to welcome all of the new people that are here for the first time because of Rupert's. I just love that he posted these shows in the newsletter that was just posted yesterday. So thank you for being with us. Hello, everyone. Hello, Andrea and Henrik. William Price. Hello, you guys. And I'm going to post for the new folks that come in. I'm just going to post real quick a link to the playlist if you wanted to direct link to the YouTube channel where all our 18 shows from the art, the nature of consciousness that we did last year up until March, and then it'll also have a playlist for the first 3 shows of the art of peace and happiness. And I'm just going to put a link for you right here. Let's see. There it is. And that's it. So you guys that are watching live, that's the link to the YouTube channel that is the playlist. And if you're listening and you have the video link and you needed a link to this, if you clicked on your link that was sent to you today, it will give you this video feed, and it'll also give you the chat feed where I just put the link, and I will also put this link on the Facebook group. I'll put the playlist link on the Facebook group with the recording for today on both the audio and the video. And that's sort of the housekeeping side of things. I want to say namaste to Anneke and to all of you. And I love you and I bless you. And I'm so grateful to have this venue where we can share the observation, the understanding, and then the experience that we find because of the pointing, because of Rupert's pointing, and because of his clear and concise way of filtering this information and then delivering it, presenting it to us in such a clear manner. So thank you all for being with us, and thank you, Anneke, for being our guest host this week.
Great. Thanks.
Yeah. So this week is about the body, and I'll tell you something. I almost couldn't get past the first page.
Yeah.
Because it's like, holy cow. Am I stuck here? And I'm reading all of this. And I mean, my inquisitive mind is going, okay, check in. I just want to check in with the content of this, what Rupert is describing in this first title, this first theme that says the sense of separation in the body. And we all know that is possible because it's probably happened to each one of us at one point. And you really have to check in and come into this quiet place of presence to discover the awareness that is not the senses, but is aware of the senses, or is not the body, but is aware of the body, but also at the same time, this thing that he says, we may talk endlessly about the unlimited nature of awareness. And this was kind of, I want to say scary, but only if you're lost in it. But he says, we may talk endlessly about the unlimited nature of awareness, but all the time, the separate inside self is sitting comfortably in the body. In fact, talking endlessly about the nature of awareness, how everything arises in awareness, how there is no separate entity, nothing to do, no one to do it, can become a smokescreen for the far deeper feelings of separation, which are too uncomfortable to be faced fully and honestly. Now, ladies and gentlemen, that's an eye opener for me to read that. I'm going, oh wow, that's like the spiritual ego that he's
Yes.
talking about. And then he goes on. He says, in many cases, the understanding everything is awareness. There is no body here. There is nothing to there is nothing to do has been appropriated by the inside self and laid like a thin veneer over our much deeper feelings of separation and unhappiness. Hence the new religion of non-duality. The account for the feelings, and for you all that are reading, this is on page 89, and I'm going to stop after this next paragraph. He says, to account for the feelings of irritation, sadness. Oh no, I was above that. He says everything is awareness. There is no body here. There is nothing to do. Has been appropriated to the inside self. Okay, I did read that. To account for the feelings of irritation, sadness, lack, agitation, loneliness, and so on that still persist, and to reconcile them with its new enlightened status, the imaginary self, through a convoluted act of reasoning, persuades itself that all these feelings simply arise in awareness and are made out of it. Happiness and unhappiness are considered equally to be appearances in awareness and nothing to choose between them. This allows the separate inside self to remain intact, hidden in the body, subliminally dictating our thoughts, feelings, activities, and relationships. And this is pretty much what Jenny was talking about last week when she was talking about the state of mind is not the awareness, and it can be a substitute for that, a seeming substitute for that. This sounds like the description that she was describing, doesn't it?
Yes, and you could say that mind is hijacking the recognition.
Good one.
I did it. It's mine. It's from me. I am awake, pointing to this separate me.
Yes. Yeah.
There's nothing to do for me, this separate entity.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the whole thing. So that's the me, this seeming existence of me still speaking. And, what I loved about this chapter is the very, very first sentence, because he says the sense of separation starts with a thought that exclusively identifies ourselves with the body. And that's what Rupert points to, that there are revelations and insights of understanding with a capital U. So it's what he also calls higher reasoning, through which we can see through our beliefs. But 90% of it all is laid down in layers, layer upon layer, in our body as feelings. And that is addressed by his meditations, for instance, which he also describes in this chapter later on.
Yes.
To see that there really is no me, and that this whole dance is an impersonal miracle of being, of consciousness. But mind says, I did it. I'm awake now. So now there's nothing to do. And that's exactly the way it continues to live on. Mm-hmm. And that's, Rupert also describes that this sense of being me, being the body, houses, especially in the head and the chest. That's what he also later on describes. Mm-hmm. I'm the thinker. I'm the seer. I'm the smeller, the taster, and the hearer. So all the senses are, so to say, claimed by this seeming me. by mind.
Yeah.
So you can say that separation starts with the very first thought, I am a body. And you know, it's I consciousness, and then I am consciousness is, and then I am a body. I am a girl, I'm a boy. And then it carries on. So that's where the very first line of learning and taking on and conceptual ideas and beliefs begins. Because as a child, we're just, as a baby, there's just experiencing, nobody really having recognized that it's I experiencing, but it's still a seamless whole. But then we take on, I'm a body, and I'm separate from you, and I'm good, I'm bad, and so forth and so forth. So it all starts with that first thought. I am a, and then an object, a thing, a body. And we have learned this through repetition. It went on and on. And especially when life hasn't been too kind to us, these are like what Rupert also sometimes explains, like a bolt out of the blue, like a thunderclap. You shrink. Oh, it was a thunderclap. Okay, you can trace that back. But when you hear you're wrong, you're bad, you're not worth love, and you're slapped or abused, or, you know, we know the horrific possibilities, that gets stored in this body because it is pointed from our upbringing on in society, pointed to, you are a body, so you are bad. And then you get a slap, so the body gets a slap. And that only confirms on and on and on that me is a body and me is in a body. And that's why Rupert so often, and his teacher Francis Lucille the same, they offer these bodily yoga meditations. And those are really, really great. Transparent Body, Luminous World is a book with all these meditations and CDs that offers 24 different bodily meditations. And then he invites you to see, to the basic question, am I consciousness separate? Am I consciousness or presence? Am I separate? And that's beautiful to discover that it's not true. And one of his meditations that I would love to discuss, we're not speaking about the chapter so much, but I'd like to say it anyways. One of the meditations is that he asks you to first listen to a sound outside. And then, with your eyes closed, go to a thought. And from a thought, go to a sensation in the body. For instance, the tingling underneath your feet he talks about. And then to a feeling. Could be restlessness or boredom or whatsoever. Have you encountered any border between that sound, the thought, the sensation, and the feeling? There is none. With other words, there is no division between the world outside, so to say, thought, and the body. And those are, I have goosebumps all over, because when you really do that attentively, follow what he speaks of, then you just know attention can go everywhere freely. And attention is what I consciousness am made of. It can go seemingly towards an object or a state or whatsoever.
Yes.
And then you discover there's just no division. And then, of course, we have to see, not have to, but if we love this, to see that this body has no contour. The contour is not the limit. And when that limit drops away, there's nothing in there. And what we are, and when I say we, I'm speaking of I consciousness. Everybody, when everybody says I, it is actually consciousness. I've lost my sentence. So it's just discovering that I am open and empty space, like being. And so it's the body. And then the body is just sensations and feelings dancing in this open space and free to expand.
Mm-hmm.
And if they keep on dancing their dance because there are residues in our body that still come up in the light of this recognition, then they are free to dance. And that's what you say. You see them, you're aware of them. But what I love about the teaching of Rupert is you discover there is only I consciousness, only this empty being. So you could say, I'm not the body. And that's of course important to discover, to see, oh, I'm not the body. And this I that I am, that is free of any object and body and feeling. And I see them, but what I am is always here. And that was the last book, The Nature of Consciousness. I'm always present and I'm unlimited and there's no division whatsoever.
Yes.
And then we discover, oh, I'm also a body. It's just a name, eh?
Mm-hmm.
Because that's what I also wanted to point out, if I may. That first thought, I am a body, is a name that we agreed upon. We agreed in Holland, we call it een lichaam. In England, we call it a body. So in China, I don't know what they call it there, but everybody has a different word they agreed upon for a body. So it's a concept. And it's pointing to this appearance. And it doesn't mean that this appearance isn't real. I mean, there is a Bill and Anneke and all these beautiful people that join us. And so, but what it's made of is made clear. Mm-hmm. And the body is in that discovery a very important very important, because all these residues of these thunderclaps that have been laid in it, I'm the thinker and I'm bad and whatsoever, that we have learned that all through repetition. You're a body, you're good, you're bad. And then through repetition, through discovering, they are just sensations. There's just sensations here. And there's visualizations that we can expand this body or let the shells of the outer form drop away and they float away in space. And then there's this emptiness and just sensations dancing in that. Well, they help us over and over and over repeat that the body is its bodily sensations dancing in freedom. Mm-hmm. Well, and so we took on all these names because if we would not give the body the name body, or the sky, the word sky, what is it? And you cannot ask the mind, because that's exactly the one that has learned all these names.
Yes.
And you have to ask I awareness, the one that knows, the only one that knows.
Yeah.
Anything. So I'm really enthusiastic about this subject because I've got chronic pain already for years and years, and sometimes I hate it, and I'm not the kindest person sometimes. But it has helped me. It was urgently necessary to see I'm not the body and then include it in the exploration. I still have to. I still am resistant to the physical pain. It's not fun, but I can see that partially the physical pain is technical. There's just an injury in my neck. And partially it's psychological. It are these thunderclaps that are stored in my system and have not really been seen through or embraced, so you can say. But for me, the seeing, the clear seeing, is the love, is the embrace, and but I do know what you started with, the mind taking it on, hijacking it. Oh, there's nothing to do, and it's all dancing here, but you can feel it in your gut. There's something not, it's still me claiming it all. Mm-hmm. Right?
Yeah.
And but that can take quite a while because it's very sneaky. Mm-hmm. This power, because you know what? This power is also consciousness itself dancing as this seeming forgetting and then urging us back. So it's not in the hands of a seeming me, because that me doesn't exist. So you can fight like hell, like I have done. I'm very honest. I have been seeking like crazy. I have been fighting like hell, and sometimes still. Because there's this faint idea that there is a me, and it has will and power.
Yeah.
Life shows me, no.
Yeah.
Well, that's the first thing.
One of the things I love about this chapter is the investigation that is invited to look at these ideas, to look at these examples that Rupert gives, so that we're not fooled by the I that has attached itself as the senses, so that we can actually notice the true I of and the true I of being, and that's a quality. You know it. It's a knowing quality of your own being. And as I was sitting in the chair the other day reading some of this material, and then I looked up at the trees, and I'm looking at the trees, and I'm actually going through the experience in my being of recognizing that the trees, the airspace, the furniture in the room, nothing. I found myself expanding as the totality of all of everything that the body's eyes was seeing.
Yeah.
I found myself expanding
Everywhere. Yeah.
experience, and it was like, whoa, this is so cool.
Yes.
And when you're able to do that, you totally do rise into the experience of being, and allowing you're watching the dance of the person. You're watching the dance of the experience that is occurring, and you're not separate from that, but yet you are not exactly just that. It's just it's remarkable.
You're not limited, no.
Yes, it's really, and also he has these tools in this chapter alone, but besides the brilliant meditations that Rupert has, he has parts of exploration in this chapter. In these essays, he has different explorations that you can use to investigate just a little bit, to notice. Yeah. And the part that I absolutely love, which is he sort of threads it all through this chapter, is that if you just allow yourself to be present, just allow the presence to be, and in the awareness, the light will actually do the work. The light will actually, and I think Hillary said it too, it just pervades the experience with the light that we are. It just encompasses all of the thoughts, the feelings, the sensations, all of your emotions, all of your beliefs. If you'll just be still and in this quiet presence, all of those things are quietly undone, as an allowing, as the Beatles would say, let it be.
Yes. Yes, and because this consciousness has already been doing everything anyways, but while resting back, you discover that, and you let it be. But in the deepest sense, it is also, that is consciousness playing as letting it be.
Yes.
So that's but it's true that when it arises as letting be, you feel and you see it happen, that it's all done. It's without effort, it's healed. but it can take on the appearance of effort as well. You know, like I have been seeking like crazy. No, I had to do that, apparently, to find that it was not in the objects. Well, I was hardwired on that one. So name it, and I was trying it, you know, every stone turned.
Yes.
To know beyond any doubt, and that doubt can still arise, but beyond any doubt that it's in the other direction, the direction of leaning back, the direction of remembering, the direction, you know, and sometimes it can feel very opposite what you want, because the mind is so used, you know, this sense of separation is so used to seek in the objects and seek in the world and seek in states and seek in mindsets and so forth. But that's logical. You know, it's a repetition of decades, but to let be, because I was reading Pamela. She said she also has chronic pain and feels a lot of resistance when doing the yoga meditations. And then Rupert says, so let that be of comfort, then you're on the right track. When there is resistance, then you're on to something.
Yeah.
Because only this sense of separation, this me feeling in the body, is resistant. Because once exposed to the light of seeing, it vanishes. And because we have gotten used to grabbing hold in the world and finding rescue and survival, and especially onto the body, it feels as if you, if something horrible can happen if you surrender to the other direction. So, but it's of great relief for the body. And don't feel it as a failure, feel it as encouragement.
Yes. Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. And one of the things that I love I love the idea that everything is self-resolving.
Yes.
If we just follow the practice of quiet awareness, it's so easy that we can't believe that it's true.
Yeah.
and I want to we have quite a few new people that showed up in the last I'd say 10 or 15 minutes. I'm putting a link here on the board for you guys that came later, and this link you can use it later. Just copy and paste it and put it away. It's a link to the playlist for the last book study that we did on the nature of consciousness. And it also has the first 3 chapters of this book, The Art of Peace and Happiness, Volume 1, and Presence, Volume 1. I just want to give that to the new people that are here, because Rupert's staff just posted on his newsletter this book club yesterday. And so we have a lot of new people, and I want to welcome all of you that are here. Please go back and watch those talks about the first 3 chapters. They're excellent. And I just want to be thankful for all of the co-hosts that have been with me ever since October of last year. Thank you all for being co-hosts on this collaboration that we're doing together. And thank you, Anneke, for being our guest this week. And then you all that are calling in, I see we have a number of people that have called in. If you have any questions or comments, you can press *2 on your phone or device, and we'll take questions for you, or you can leave a comment and you'll come right into the room with us with your voice. So I just want to offer that. And then I just want to also mention that that Hillary said that with Rupert's yoga meditations, which she loves, which I love to do every day, the body becomes progressively pervaded with the light of our being. Yes. These are practices. That's a great practice, because it sort of begins to take over. And it's just a subtle little thing that I've noticed in my own life, where things that normally I wouldn't have patience for, like one of my kids calling for some kind of emergency money situation, or I'm doing this. And used to be I'd go, fuck, I just really have this like, but now I'm watching that the emotions don't have the same, they don't have the same like urgency, and they don't have the same pull that they used to have on me. And I'm also noticing that even wisdom is able to drop into that space easier as I've been doing this work. I've been noticing that wisdom and then what to do next sort of just shows up, and it comes in a very quiet presence. You know what I mean?
Yes, and it's also because they Rupert and his teacher speak of qualities of that. What we really are is understanding, love, and beauty. So when an artist is drawn to beauty and creating or whatsoever, that is also a path to remember and to recognize, and understanding too, because there's teachers that look down upon using the mind or seeing through and discussing, and they look down upon teachers like Rupert or whatsoever. But it is really a part of the clarity and the evolvement, like love is. So it addresses mind, body, and nature, art, etc., feelings. So that's great, because there are all these entrance points and doorways that help us remember. Yeah.
Do you have a particular noticing that takes place when a chronic pain shows up? What is the practice that you notice?
For a very, very long time, I believed in a spiritual norm, and I thought that not liking it, and that sometimes not being able to be with it, I failed. And now it's more complete. I'm including not liking pain, and I'm more loving towards the fact that I took a lot on in my life of violence, and doesn't matter. I nearly died several times as a child, and I lost 2 husbands. So my story added up quite a bit to a contraction. I was born like this. Well, that's still in my system. I mean, I'm honest. Don't have to play as if I'm only in a holy, blissful state. I'm not. And I also know that any state, anything with a beginning and an end, is temporary, and is, in that sense, it's worthwhile, it's beautiful, and it can help us open and so forth. But that's worthless is difficult to say. But I try to be in a certain state. I had to be at peace with it. I should be beautifully in horrible pain, and that was a violation too. So now I'm more loving towards the fact that pain really hurts, and I do take medication. And I also know that pain from the psychological part, the residues in my system of all that I have taken on and experienced in my history, that takes time, and that needs the gradual seeing and opening, and that's what is happening, which is revealed. And mind wants to effort. Effort is okay, but I mean fight and work and more information and seek and do, and it's more in the non-doing and the exploration. Of course, if you could see that as an effort, it feels like an effort because mind was used to go in that direction, and it's in that direction. But I'm more loving towards the fact that I find pain sometimes just shit. I mean, that's how it is. And especially because it's my neck and that can make me feel really nauseous, and there's some more physical issues, and I just have to deal with it, and I try to deal with it with love and light and understanding. And if that means, like, for instance, I create art, I have decided to make turn my home into a sanctuary, which means that I'm going to create art that could be a poem or a word or a beautiful pebble or canvases or whatsoever. I'm going to hang it. I'm going to put it on my shelves. I'm going to lay it. So when my body is in horrible pain, I'm surrounded by truth, because any art comes from truth. So that feels beautiful to me, because sometimes when there's a lot of pain, I'm not able to beautifully, no resistance. No, hell no. So then it's beautiful. No, then it's beautiful that I see around myself.
Yes.
I'm reminded, or I'm cradled by it, because love, it doesn't, the residues need clear seeing. I mean, I'm not stupid. I know that it's not like the mind, oh, I only need to cradle it. It can be beautiful, massages and cradling and child issues and whatsoever, but it also asks the clear seeing, the cutting through it, the seeing that the body is not a body as an object. It is a dancing of sensations, and there is no me in that. And that's the deepest relief, because in the core of these contraction pain is the sense of being a separate me, being separate. And even though I know there is no me, but it still sometimes feels like that in the body, especially when there's pain. Mm-hmm. And I can see when there's pain that triggers these trains of thoughts that go in loops again and again. I hate noise and the neighbor or whatsoever. And then it's tougher to stop, even though I see it. Mm-hmm. And then I see it and I think, oh, here's the loop again. And sometimes I don't think here's the loop again. I'm just angry. Life dances as everything, but I know that mind is tempted to co-opt it as, angry is okay, because you said something in the beginning, which is in the book. I wanted to say something about that too. The very first page that you mentioned, it says,
just a minute, Anneke, just a minute. Someone was asking what chapter we're on, and before we're on the body, which is sort of like chapter 4 in these essays. And just for you all that are new, because it it was posted on Rupert's newsletter, we're on chapter 4 now, and you can go back to the playlist and you can watch starting with chapter 1. Okay, go ahead. Thank you.
Yes. Well, on the first page of the body, which is page 89.
Yeah.
You read way at the bottom, it says, it persuades itself that all these feelings simply arise in awareness and are made out of it. It's the truth, but when taken on, hijacked by mind, it's a way to avoid clear seeing.
Yeah.
And then it says happiness and unhappiness are considered equally. And I remember Rupert speaking about that once. Happiness is what we are. Unhappiness is what we seem to be when believing we are separate. Mm-hmm. Happiness is not, it's not happiness and unhappiness. No, we are happiness. And I always thought happiness is that I have to feel blissful all the time, or there should be always joy. But happiness is the recognition of what we really are as this peaceful, ever-present, aware being in the background of everything and even in the foreground, expressing as all of life. And unhappiness reflects or mirrors the fact that we think we are suffering and separate. Mm-hmm. So they are, of course you can be temporarily happy when you have bought a new television or whatsoever, or you have a new lover, of course, but lasting happiness I'm speaking of.
Yeah.
And that's, you could also call it peace. or just clarity,
Yeah.
you know, understanding, love, beauty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I love that idea that you expressed, Anneke, where you're making this like a sanctuary or a sacred
Yeah.
space
Yeah.
with these object reminders of they're really symbols.
Yes.
They're really symbols
Yeah.
of the reminder of your own divine
Yeah.
nature. Really,
Yeah. It comes from truth.
yeah.
So it reflects truth.
That painting, or what is that behind you that we're looking at?
That's an attempt, an attempt to express the very first lines of Genesis, where it says there was just wasteland, the world was empty, and then God spoke, "Let there be light." But for there's somebody to speak, "Let there be light," there must be somebody first. So that God is a symbol too. So I have a series of very dark paintings. One is even nearly completely black. And in the beginning, I was scared of black years ago, but I love black. I love darkness, because the darkness is the no thing. There is no thing yet. And it's complete peace.
So good.
It's complete peace. So I had a black painting, and when I went upstairs, I looked into my studio, and there was this black painting, and I had the shivers all over my body until I started meditating more and more and more. And I saw that at the bottom, underneath all these feelings and residues, there is nothing. And it's empty, but it's not dead. It's black aliveness. Oh, that's really, really, really beautiful. So I'm trying to bring forth that there is something abstract, like, let's call it God, or the potential for there to be life expressing at all. It's also quantum physics. I'm not good at that, so maybe I say something wrong. But where attention, or when awareness focuses, form comes into form. So that's just an attempt to try to bring that forth. And then I made 5, and then the mind came in, and it's exactly what you said. Mind came in, and you said, "Oh, this has to become a series. That's good. Then I can have an exhibition. So I need to paint more nothingness." Stuck. Really. That's how it goes.
Yes.
So now I'm going to create the sanctuary. I'm free to also paint flowers or whatever, because everything that is created, like tenderly, attentively, intimately, intuitively chosen, is already what I am.
Yes.
Is already an expression of what I am. So it doesn't matter if you choose music, or if you go for a walk in nature, you run into yourself. And I can get very passionate about it, as you can hear.
What's interesting to me is that you've taken a completely opposite way of seeing the quality of darkness, because in the world and in awakening,
Yes.
and darkness rules.
Scary.
The darkness, and there is no light. We think that we're in this place that's called hell, and you've turned it into a whole
It's not true.
Yes.
It's not true, Bill. Really. Yes. I know darkness. I have been in pain for days in a row, really curled up. That was hell. And that felt dark in the usual sense of the word. But imagine you're floating in space. No planets, no stars, no sun, no earth. You don't know if you're upside down. You don't know. There's no dimension. There's no time, no sense of time. I did that meditation. And that was such a great meditation, because there was still something present.
Yes.
And that very presence feels as light, even though it's pitch dark. Yes. But that presence is light. So darkness can be light simultaneously.
Nice.
It's not scary.
Yes.
Well, I had to find out for myself, as everything needs to be found out for ourselves. And that's what Rupert also points at. Verify, check, see for yourself. So you don't have to believe a guru. You don't have to believe, because the other side of belief is doubt. But see for yourself, because once experienced, you are never fooled again. You cannot unboil a boiled egg. Never. It's true.
I want to share when I was, because I've been reading this material and practicing the different the investigations that Rupert describes. I was walking. I'm doing long walks now, 6-8 mile walks, and getting ready to go to the Camino, as most of you know. And last week, no, it was actually Saturday or Sunday, I walked 8 miles. I was in about the 6th mile, and the heels of my feet started burning.
Yeah.
Started getting hot and burning, and I'm noticing the sensation in my heels. And then as I'm contemplating this burning hot, and I still have 2 miles to go, I looked up at the trees and I started including the trees and the space, everything. I started including all of that into the awareness of the experience of the heels as a sensation. And 2 minutes later, I didn't even feel the heels anymore.
Great. Yeah.
It was, and I did that about 3 times for the next 2 miles until I could see that when it's just like Arthur said a little while ago, when you take the attention off of the sensation and you include everything as presence, as awareness, then it's no longer pulling you as identifying as pain anymore. It's just it's actually a non-event at that point.
Yes, it's impersonal.
Yeah.
And that's freeing, that's liberating. Because one more beautiful expression is see the world as your body. That's what you're describing, because I consciousness, everything, the whole world, the whole universe is your body. So trees and heels, it's you. It's impersonal, right?
Yes.
Yes. And I can, sometimes the physical pain is not so tough. And then for me, what helps for me is that, when you have a boiled egg, you take the shells off, right? Mm-hmm. So I'm taking the shells off of my head, of my face, of my body, of my arms, and I let them, that's a variation on Rupert's meditation, and I let them drop off. Mm-hmm. And he says at the back is difficult because we don't know the back so well. We see in front, and even though when we turn our head, awareness, I'm not turning, but that's a different thing. But then we drop all the shells and they float, and also in the bottom, so it becomes deep, underneath nothing. But that's such a relief when there's pain in the body, because then it's just that sensation in the expansive, never-ending, unlimited space that we are. Yeah. And to see those shells of the contours of my body just float away into nowhere, and then that's way less intense than I've done all sorts of stuff going into the feeling and then descending and whatsoever. That was helpful at the time, but now, which color does it have? How intense is it? Well, I can do that the whole day. I don't want to do that anymore. Yes. So this is freer. Yes. Like the world is, can you see the world as your body? And your refers to I awareness, I consciousness. Yeah. And that's what you actually describe.
Yes. Yes. Well, I want to pick up any other comments here. It looks like Catherine Catherine said something interesting here. She said, I was shocked a little at first when I began to get the sensation of being pulled back when my separate self would try to take hold. Yes, there is
Yeah.
there is a mystery to that. And now feel I am engaging with it. Yes. Well, yeah, including it is what you were describing. You're including whatever the experience is. You're not making it good or bad. You're not making it separate. You're just including it as part of consciousness.
Yeah, even the not wanting to include.
Yes. Yes.
No, that's a relief.
Want it not to be, you can't. When you start to want it not to be, you're separating it, and you're making it bad, and it's going to make it worse.
Yeah, don't resist resistance. But
Yes.
if the mind co-opts it as a way to not face it or see it or bring clarity to it, then just watch it, see it happen.
Yeah.
You know, from, oh, no resistance to resistance, still in the body. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's all a gradual rewiring and a gradual establishing in what we really are, as and in what we are. And there is no how to or should, and there is also no norm in what, you know, some people, they sort of explode into enlightenment or whatsoever. Well, for me, that's not the case. Mm-hmm. It really is a gradual rewiring, and mind sometimes wants to speed it up, but that doesn't work. And it also wants to fight it, stop it. It's always both ways.
Yeah.
It says, I want to be free, but let me see how I can block that, you know? Yeah. So that's the game.
My favorite content on this whole chapter.
Yeah.
For me.
Which page?
I already talked about it. It's the smoke screen. Yeah. That's my favorite content in this whole chapter.
Yeah.
And what would you think is your most favorite out of these, if you have one?
Well, it was exactly as you said, the page 89 and 90. Yes. And then that had such an impact and was so important that for the rest was more an exploration of those 2 pages, you know? Yes. So that we never see the whole body at once. We can't, because you cannot look at the hand and at your back at the same time. It's impossible. So we only know what we look like from memory. Turn around, look in the mirror. Oh, my back. Oh, I'm getting older. Oh, you know, it's never all at once. So when we want to really experience the body as a whole, we have to experience it as awareness, as it really is, as a sensation, as itself dancing in itself. Mm-hmm. So that's what he describes in the next chapters. And then, of course, all these exercises and explorations, how you can check that the body really is only a sensation by your hand on the couch. And can you, when you have your eyes closed, do you feel the difference between the hand or the chair? And those are described in this book too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And somewhere on page 96, he says, in reality, it's just raw, nameless, intimate experiencing, mainly made only of knowing or experiencing. That is, made only of our self-aware presence. All experience is like that. So for me, the word knowing sometimes was difficult. That all I know, all I see, all of life is only knowing. But when he uses the word experiencing, I get it.
Yes.
You know, so sometimes we need different words. Or when you use the word being instead of awareness, you know, like I can see this is being, this exists there, you know. So that's why it's also wonderful to listen to Francis Lucille or sometimes to Muji or whatsoever, because sometimes a special word can be an entrance, or that we say, aha, yes,
yes.
You know, we need an intermedium. Yeah.
Yes, totally. Yeah.
Yeah.
And before we go, we have about 5 minutes left.
Oh yeah,
Jenny mentioned,
already.
Pamela, if you have transparent body, luminous world, it is worth using one of the meditations that deals with uncomfortable feelings when you are experiencing pain. That's some of the later ones. It helps to dissolve resistance.
Yeah. Yes. You know, pouring love, breathing love into the body, or pouring emptiness into the body from the top of the head, and then you feel what I sort of visualized was when emptiness is poured into the body, it felt like the level of water sinking and sinking and sinking, and then the body becomes totally empty and it flows out, you know, and those are wonderful things. But I have to say, when there's really tough pain with nausea, I don't start doing that. That's like forcing myself. I have to feel at peace now with it. And you know, you can also take baby steps when there's a little bit of pain. Just see.
Yeah.
What you look like with your heels. I mean, you were not crippled, not yet. You're going to experience that on the Camino. Oh, sorry. No.
That's why I'm training. That's why I'm doing it now. I do know, you know, I'm 64 years old. I have 2 brand new knees. I have to train for this because the body hasn't been walking 10, 15 miles a day.
I'm also 64 and I don't have new knees and I would have to train. Of course, we're not used to it.
You have to start the body. You have to say, hey, you're getting ready to do this. Right. So get ready for it.
Yes.
Yeah.
But is there any question left from the call-ins or something, Bill?
The only thing is, I don't see any questions from the call-ins. They're all just patiently listening. And thank you all for joining us on the call-in features at *2. If you have any questions, we only have about 3 minutes left. And this has been a wonderful chapter on body.
Yes.
Thank everyone for joining us this week.
Yes.
You know, one of the last things that I saw in this chapter on the ever-present seamlessness of experience, there was a questioner that said to Rupert, you say that awareness is not only the background on which objects appear, but also their substance.
Yeah.
I have trouble seeing that awareness and those objects that appear to it are one and the same. What am I missing?
Yes. I had that too. You too?
I just want to say that's a common thing.
Yes.
It's only recently since I started rereading. I'll reread and reread. And it's so funny. I'll read a paragraph last night. I'll sit down the next morning and read it again. All of a sudden, the whole understanding drops in.
Yeah. But for me, I have really done my best, but that was mind, of course, but really efforted. And of course, I also had the wrong idea in the beginning. I thought everything was going to be transparent. It is, but not in the way I thought. You know, I thought I would see weird stuff, but it's still just a tree and everything. But it's revealed that it's made of emptiness. It's empty in itself, made of consciousness. But what I at a certain point just had to do was leave it be. I just thought, okay, if it's all awareness dancing as this separation and taking itself back, then that's the place to be, to discover deeper what I really am. And I can only ask that which I am, not mind or the world. So I just lean back. And then all of a sudden there's a book or there's a meditation or somebody says something and it will open up.
Yes.
You know?
Yes. Yeah. Well, that's pretty much what Rupert said in his answer to that. And for you all that want to know the answer, it's on page 106. What that questioner, the last couple of essays in this chapter are questions that were presented in a retreat, and Rupert gave us amazing answers to it. So go and read for yourself what the answer was. And thank you all for joining with us. Next week, we're going to have Andrea Fraze as our co-host.
Yes.
it is on the world. And thank you all for being here. I love you. We love
Thank
you.
you.
Namaste. I love you all.
Love you.
Bye, Anneke. Thank you for
Bye,
joining.
bye, Bill. Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.